Rad Rides with Wes and Vivian Rydell walk away with the championship trophy. That was really cool.
That's a Troy,
Adam came
Troy
up.
build? Was that a Troy
Yeah.
Trepanier? Yeah,
So
sure.
Troy took a 1941 Fleetline and took
I remember
a
seeing
four-door.
that. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Took a 4-door and made it a 2-door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real simple, right?
Yeah. I could do that with a Sawzall and a couple of beers.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories. Welcome to another episode of Car Guy Confessions with Jeff Smith, Cam Benty. We have a very special guest star here with us tonight, Ross Berlanga. But we want to first tell you that we are at the Petersen Museum. You can kind of see the backdrop is again different. So we want to first of all thank the Petersen Museum people for helping us out with this. And this is just a fantastic place.
Yes.
And there's a ton of history behind us.
Yes, we'll get into all that. Yeah.
As we said with the other ones, it's like, for us, it's kind of like coming home because our offices used to be just right down the street. Yep. And so this is kind of a special deal, but let's start talking about
we
you.
We got to mention
that's
boys.
right. That's right. Before we forget, we got to talk about our friends at arp-bolts.com helping us out with this whole thing. So check them out, and then we'll just get started here. Yeah, dude. So we knew each other from the Masters of Motors deal, but let's start back further. So what got you into cars? Because this is going to be a long story, but that's okay. We got plenty of time. So
what got me into cars is actually just building my 1971 Chevy El Camino.
Okay.
And never thought that that building that vehicle would actually get me into this industry. So building it and driving it to school when I was at Cal State Fullerton, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, I just finished an internship over at Surfing Magazine. Do you want to take it over?" I'm like, "Really? It's that simple? I don't have to talk to anybody?" And, okay, sure.
he just passes it off.
So I got to do that all summer. It was awesome. But when it was all done, there was no work over there. So thankfully, I got to meet a gentleman named Paul Graff.
Okay.
And Graff actually stayed in contact. He stayed in contact with me. And I got hired right out of school and got to go work over at the McMullen, the Prime Media McMullen office.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun, and I got to most of the time I was working on those like filling cards, blowing cards, and things like that.
Okay, but art direction kind of stuff, right?
Art direction. Then I finally, before I left, I got I had 2 books. I had Kit Car and I had Custom Rodder.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun to be able to work on those books.
And being an art director is really kind of you're behind the scenes guy. I mean, I always love working with my art directors because, in my opinion, they made us look good. I mean, I wrote the words, we shot the photos, but it was the art director that made you look good. And if you would hang out with your art director and be friends with him, and bring him sodas and stuff in the afternoons to keep him awake, I learned that very quickly. Absolutely. That was an important deal. So then where'd you go from there?
So from there, I ended up going to Edelbrock. Edelbrock scooped me up.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yes.
Really?
And the best part of going to Edelbrock was I got to meet my amazing wife there. So. Juanita, that was awesome.
What's her name?
Juanita.
Shameless plug.
Okay. Yeah.
So thankfully, from there, I was able to venture out and to go start my own ad agency. So I did that for a little bit, and during that time, still connected to the industry, I got asked by Tony Gente to design his 1953 Merc.
Okay. And Tony was working at OPG at the time. OPGI.
And I'll never forget when he's asking me, "Hey, do you know anybody that can draw my Merc?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, you can talk to, Steve Stanford or Chip Foose." And he's like, "No, I want you to draw it." Oh, okay. Well, if I draw it, I can, but the thing is, what you see is what you get. There's no edits to it.
Yeah.
However, back then, so this is back in right around 2000, 2001, and I told him, if you let me use this program called Photoshop, I think you'll really like the flexibility of it, and I'll be able to modify some things to you, whatever your heart desires, we can make it happen. So about 7 edits later, next thing you know, his car's all done, and about a year after that, it ends up on the cover of the December 2003 Hot Rod.
Outstanding, yeah. So that had to be a thrill,
that
right?
was awesome.
Yeah.
Who else could really think that your first car design ends up on the cover. Of Hot Rod.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's
there
pretty
are
rare.
people slitting their throats right now. Guys are still trying to get in, right?
Yeah, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare air to be up in that.
Yeah, exactly. So your very first one, boom, you're on the cover. Hot Rod. Yeah.
So, yeah,
There are people there are people killing themselves right now. Yeah.
So is that what you went to Fullerton for? Were you an art
for graphic
major?
design? Yes.
Graphic design.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So and then, after the .com boom, everything imploded.
Yes.
So when that imploded, I had to go find another job, and ended up over at J.E. Pistons.
Okay.
And,
all right.
That was a lot of fun, and then from there I got to work over at Budnick Wheels, and Budnick Wheels, the very first overhauling episode was filmed there.
Oh, okay.
So
Really?
that was my first time being able to really meet like Chip Foose or anybody outside the industry that I really didn't know on a personal level, but after you spend 7 days and nights with people, they all become very good friends.
Yes. Yes.
What year was that? Do you remember what year that was?
So that was in 2002.
2002. Okay.
Wow.
At Budnick Wheels, which is in what town? Where's that now?
Huntington Beach.
Huntington
Okay.
Beach. Good place for it.
Which is also where J.E. Pistons was. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
All
that
right
company.
there.
So our deal started at the PRI show when you wanted us to, David Freiberger and Brian Loans and myself and
Mike Krajima.
Mike Krajima,
Yes.
and to do the Masters of Motors thing, which
Yes.
was a lot of fun, but it was hard. It was really difficult because at the PRI show, what year was that? That was 5 years ago?
About
something
5
like
years
that?
ago, yeah.
And there was a ton of engines there at the show, and we had 4 or 5 different categories, and then the overall winner.
Yes.
And that turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. I was like,
Absolutely.
wow, this shouldn't be all that difficult, And your trophy was like what? 8 feet high, it probably weighed like 80 pounds, something like that.
So it was about 3 foot by 3 foot. However, you're right. It weighed about 80 pounds. It weighed a ton.
Nice.
But hey, what better way to make an impression about how stout of an award this was to make something that heavy.
Yeah, that
My
big.
goodness, you just had to have 2 people there to lift it.
Yeah, so what we did was we walked around, looked at every engine at the show, and then categorized them, and then had to break it down, and then finally have an overall. We had a bunch of different diesel and turbocharged and that kind of stuff.
So there are different categories?
Different categories,
Okay.
right? And then the overall winner, which went to, Jessel, Danny
Yes.
Jessel with the Equal 8 engine.
Yeah.
And which was just a fantastic engine,
Absolutely.
and I think about it sometimes because there could have been somebody else that could have won that thing had he not been there. It was just the confluence of it all, but at the same time, it's such an amazing engine because that thing was a clean sheet of paper engine. He had started from nothing. It's like hot rodders all start with an LS motor or a small block Chevy or a big block Ford or whatever it is, and that they were always compromises, as he told me because I interviewed him for a story that I later did, and you have to start from a clean sheet of paper. So the engine was amazing, and there was so much detail in that thing and all the thought that went into it.
What did he start with? What was the motor?
He didn't start with anything. It was a clean sheet of paper.
Totally
Really?
clean
So it was a
sheet.
V8
Cast-
427,
So he
and the
cast his
goal
own
was
block? Or
it
billet?
was an
Billet?
all aluminum billet aluminum block.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
and built aluminum heads, and the
Nice.
cam core was huge. It was 4 or 5 inches in diameter. It was amazing because and all the valve train had to be straight up and down. All the ports had to be straight. All the things because with a production engine. There are all these compromises about hood line that you can't have a port that goes like this because it crashes into the hood, or there was some other limitation.
Right.
And so there's all E engines. There's always limitations. He had no limitations, and I forget the RPM. I know if I recall correctly, I may be wrong, but it was like 1,100 horsepower we were shooting for. Normally aspirated 427, and the goal was to run the thing at Bonneville.
Right.
And I did some calculations on the story that I did, and we actually underestimated how much power it would make. and now, as far as I know, it has run at Bonneville and set some records. So it's a pretty impressive thing. So it's kind of neat that the engine that we picked, it was actually fairly easy. Mike Moran was the other runner-up.
Yes.
And that was tough because Moran's engine was was equally as good. And what was great was Mike said, you guys made the right choice because they compared notes. And then Jessel said that he learned things from because Moran's engine was first. And I talked Moran into coming, not knowing the Equal 8 was going to be there.
Nice guy.
And then,
Nice guy.
Nice. And I said, dude, because he called me up and he said, I hear you're going to be a judge. And I went, yeah. And he goes, should I bring my engine? I go, yes, absolutely. I said, you're not. I don't know what's going to be there, but I would think that you should be able to just walk away with this thing. And the Equal 8 showed up. I went,
then what happens?
But Mike came up afterwards when we made the award, and he said, you guys made the right choice. This is a phenomenal engine. And also said that a lot of things the mistakes that he made, mistakes in his engine or things that could have been better, Jessel picked up on because they talked.
Sure.
They talked back and forth, and Jessel talked to him and said, this is what you're doing. What did you see? And Mike just told him.
What was the vision for this motor? Obviously, you're starting clean sheet of paper, and this is the Jessel from Jessel Rocker
Jessel
Arms?
Valtrains,
okay, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guy's got a lot of engineering background, so as a smart guy, he's got a lot of things that he already has in his pocket already on this deal. So what was the vision for this, other just to be able to build a perfectly, a non-compromised, uncompromised?
Yes.
So that was it.
That was it. And it was, because he was a racer. He and his brother built the U2 57 Chevy sedan delivery, stock luminaire car. Yeah. So they were racers from the very beginning, and the company actually started because big block Chevys were plagued with valve train problems.
Sure.
And they just started messing around until they figured out how to fix it, and then the company just grew from there. So
just worked on the sock motor.
Yeah.
That was such a simple motor.
Like Kazi's Box 9, with an exhaust rocker arm that's this long.
Perfect.
It's like there's some deflection there.
Yep.
So we'd like to thank our sponsor ARP and ARP-bolts.com. And we all three build cars. We all work on this stuff. And
I tinker.
You tinker.
I tinker.
Yes, we all build.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of a really cool multiple purpose fastener for me because there's all the science and all the technology, which is bottomless. Trust me. Unbelievable amount of research that they put into these things.
Absolutely.
And on top of it, you get them out of the package, and they're absolutely beautiful. Which I've joked before, it's like jewelry for your car. And when we're building when we're building a high end car, there isn't anything else going on it. It's part of the criteria for me to have them lining the engine bay, not just on the engine, everywhere. Yeah. So you get all the strength, the durability, the reliability, and fantastic good looks.
Sure.
Kind of like Jeff here.
And without peer. Without peer.
And you know what?
Or pair.
Without peer. There's nobody else that does what they do.
It is. So check them out at arp-bolts.com, and they can help you out. Just a phenomenal piece of engineering, and to look at it. And at that time, that engine had not run yet.
Right.
It had not run.
It was just a piece of art, though. You could absolutely appreciate all the craftsmanship.
Yes, because you walk up and look at it, and it's like you almost just want to go,
And the interesting part was Jessel's booth was right across from Diamond Piston's booth, where Mike Moran's motor
was.
So they're facing each other. It was classic.
The whole weekend.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Perfect. Yeah. He's in there cussing you out.
And Mike's a good friend because I knew Mike from way back when we did fastest streetcar stuff. Yeah. Very first, because he showed up at our fastest streetcar race down at in Memphis with a nitrous 351 Cleveland Pinto wagon.
Wow.
Because he was a street racer from Detroit. And that thing just cleaned house in Detroit, come down, and then, of course, grenaded all his parts and everything. But that was where we first met. So, it was kind of a coming together of the heavyweights. The Titans, and that engine has run, and I believe, like I said, I believe it set a record at Bonneville. But the goal was way over 11,000 horsepower or 11,000 RPM and have it be completely stable and make power at that level, so
Has anything happened to it since that time?
I'm not sure where it is. I know there were several of these engines built. There was not just one. I think there were two or three, and one of them is at the Speedy Bill's museum.
Oh, okay. We were talking
I just
about that the other day.
heard about that. So
nice.
Yeah.
So is this award continuing? I mean, are they still doing the award?
No, they're not.
Yeah. Really?
You
so
know.
How many years did it
after
run?
COVID, it just
It just died.
okay.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
there's
So I have my
things.
little trophy that
Right.
I got for being a selector. So that was kind of fun.
Nice.
So we worked together on that deal and it was a burn down because we had to run through the place
was awesome.
and look at all the engines and then come back and confer and figure it all out. But
Who sponsored this again?
that was the Pistons, JV Pistons.
It was the JV
Racing
Pistons.
Brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and you were at Race Winning Brands at that point in time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
And,
the overall company
right.
for JE. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so it was a lot of fun. That was great. I mean, great team to help make this crazy idea that I had,
Right.
come together.
Yep.
And so really neat to see that come together. It was unfortunate after COVID, it all just fizzled away.
Went away. It's
But
unfortunate.
thankfully,
Yeah.
now over at TMI, we've been able to put our own spin on it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So tell us about that.
So taking that idea,
Mike
and-
Moran involved in this one?
so taking that idea, and we launched at SEMA this past year, was our Trim Awards. And the Trim Awards, we opened it up to anybody at the SEMA show, as long as you entered, and the judges would take a look at your vehicle and see the quality of your interior. And very similar to the Masters of Motors, so many times everybody only looks at the outside of a vehicle and they never look at what's on the inside. So whether it's the engine or the interior, it's always, to me, those are the unsung heroes
There you go.
Of our industry. And
There you go.
for us to be able to give back at the SEMA show is great, especially because so many other big OEs left the SEMA show last year, and there was a lot of those awards that everybody was going after were all gone.
All gone.
So we were able to help fill a void at SEMA last
That's great,
year. And
yeah.
I'm so thankful that so many great judges, Kevin Ossie, came up, stepped up. We got Jason and Marcel, and then looking at Sarah, Teresa, and Sean Holman. All these people, if it wasn't for everybody's help to make this idea come to life with the Trim Awards, it wouldn't have been possible. And then to see Rad Rides with Wes and Vivian Rydell walk away with the championship trophy, that was really cool.
That's a Troy,
Adam came
Troy
up.
build? Was that a Troy
yeah.
Trepanier? Yeah,
So
sure.
Troy took a 1941 Fleetline and it
Oh,
took
I remember
a
seeing
four-door.
that. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Took a 4-door and made it a 2-door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real simple, right?
I could do that with a Sawzall.
Make a few cuts and
and a couple of beers.
oh man, yeah.
It was amazing.
I remember Scott Sullivan speaking of something like that. He wanted, he still wants to do it. Sent me. This is when I was the editor of Hot Rod. We were doing Dare to Be Different stuff, and he had a 4-door, 50. He's going to shoot me now because it's a 54 wagon. 4-door wagon.
Yes,
wanted to turn it
I
into
think it was a 54.
and he wanted to turn it into 2-door. So he gave me this picture that he had, just a 2-dimensional picture that he had cut up to make it so that it looked right, so I could run it in the book. And I turned it over, and there were like 19 slices into this picture. And I said, "And you're going to have to do this 3-dimensionally." He goes, "Yeah." And it's like, I can't imagine that,
Right.
So let's go into a little bit of detail about what's kind of the stuff that you guys look for when you're looking at a particular interior.
So we're looking at different things. So it could be whether it's got TMI interior or not. We're looking at, okay, how's the fit and finish on it? Did the person just slam it together, or did they actually spend the time and effort to bring in some quality colors or elements from the outside of the vehicle, bringing it to the inside. So seeing those things that are tied in together help create that theme. And then also making sure it's not just for a car, it's also for a truck. We're looking at so many different categories that making it possible for somebody to have a good chance to walk away with an award from SEMA, and there's just not many of those contests.
And this is open to anybody.
Yeah.
Anyone can do this. So you've got a series of events that you're going to this year, right?
That's it.
So you started with which event?
That's it. So when we did Masters of Motors, it began and end at SEMA and then PRI, and that was it. Well, so that's at the end of the year. So there's one piece of it that never got to happen, and that's what we're doing here at the Trim Awards, and we're making it the traveling road show.
Okay.
So we started it at the Good Guys Del Mar show in April, and our first winner was Matt De Los Cobos with the 1971 K5 Blazer.
Okay.
That thing was amazing.
Yeah.
Had some TMI Pro Classic bucket seats, and then he also used one of our bench seats for the rear of his Blazer, and then he bought a whole bunch of our material to wrap his door panels, and then wrap the custom center console.
Okay.
And then his upholsterer ended up making a really cool duffel bag out of some of the extra material.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So that was really
So
exciting.
he got style points for that, right?
Absolutely, really cool. And then we went to C10 Nationals. So we did that in May. That was a lot of fun. And the winner there was Philip Walker. And then with his C10, that was awesome to see the color combos that he pulled from the outside to the inside. And Matt Delacobos also did this K5 Blazer with the plaid treatment. He pulled he put some blue plaid into the interior, which also tied in with the blue paint job on the outside.
Okay.
But then everything else was wrapped in brown distressed vinyl.
Okay.
So a really cool contrast, but bringing it all together.
Yeah, because
outside in, inside out.
a big part of it probably has to be the fact that it has to be integrated in with the vehicle, not just the interior, because you're looking at the whole package, right?
Absolutely.
So if you can tie it all together, then that just it's more cohesive. We've all seen cars that kind of look like kind of a rolling extortion note, where they just don't seem to fit. It's like clunky and it's
That's
just
a good
not
idea.
right. And
I like that.
Yeah, you like that?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
Philip
I used to be a
Walker-
writer.
Yeah. And Philip Walker really liked and did a similar thing with his plaid treatment with his truck. But now we're going to be traveling to Columbus, Ohio, to the Good Guys Nationals event, and looking forward to that because we're going to be picking a third roadshow winner.
Okay.
There, and then come August 12th, we're going to have a fourth and final roadshow, and that's going to be at TMI at our headquarters.
Okay, and it's out in Southern California.
Yes, in Corona.
Okay, in Corona.
So we're
Okay.
right in our parking lot, and we're really excited about that because after that fourth winner, then the judges they're going to deliberate and pick one champion. That one champion is going to win a trip to SEMA on us.
Outstanding.
So with winning that trip, it's actually we're placing their vehicle right in front of Central Hall.
Okay.
Nice.
And then we're paying for a 5-night stay for them to stay in Vegas.
Great.
And then we're also going to put them in the top 20 finalists automatically.
Okay.
So, and that is for the final Trim Award contest at the SEMA show.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys last year, they were just so excited to make the top 20
Sure.
from the SEMA show.
Yeah.
And to know that you automatically get gifted right into, that's pretty awesome.
So we'd like to thank our sponsor, ARP and ARP-bolts.com. And we all three build cars. We all work on this stuff. And
I tinker.
You tinker.
I tinker.
Yes, we all build.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of a really cool multiple purpose fastener for me because there's all the science and all the technology, which is bottomless. Trust me. Unbelievable amount of research that they put into these things.
Absolutely.
And on top of it, you get them out of the package, and they're absolutely beautiful. Which I've joked before, it's like jewelry for your car. And when we're building when we're building a high end car, there isn't anything else going on it. It's part of the criteria for me to have them lining the engine bay, not just on the engine, everywhere.
Yeah.
So you get all the strength, the durability, the reliability, and fantastic good looks.
Sure.
Kind of like Jeff here.
And without peer. Without peer. Anybody
And
else
you know
better?
what?
Or pear.
Without peer, there's nobody else that does what they do.
It is. So check them out at arp-bolts.com, and they can help you out.
Each of the winners of the roadshow, they're going to win. They win a ribbon, these custom ribbons, and then the roadshow champion ends up with this black onyx trophy. And we're really excited with the way that turned out because TMI is SoCal born, and what better way to represent SoCal is with a little surfboard.
Surfboard, yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
So with all the awards, and obviously you're looking at a lot of different interiors, is there a rub off back to TMI and their products from what you see in these vehicles? Is there something you go, hey, this is cool, something we should be offering, or is it always a situation that it's just kind of just to celebrate the folks that are really working hard on their interiors?
Well, right now with the roadshow, the way it's set up is that you gotta have at least TMI seats in the vehicle.
Okay.
And what's neat about that is to see the different uses of TMI seats, things that we never thought would have been really possible, and guys getting real creative on the just the use and how they're using their vehicle with it. So, not necessarily just cruising, but someone that wants to make sure that, I need some low back seats, not the classic seats, because the low back's got more bolster in it, so it's going to hold me going through the autocross.
Right.
Whereas the other one, the really small bolsters, well, that's perfect for cruising, and a lot of the truck guys like that.
Right.
So we're enjoying just to see how everybody's using our products, and again, just trying to give back to our customers, our enthusiasts.
Yeah. Where did TMI come from? Out of curiosity,
Sure. So
too much information?
Yes. So in 1982, the four Cuccinardi brothers started this literally.
Say that again.
Four Cuccinardi brothers.
Okay, that was easy for you. Okay, very good.
So they started out of their dad's garage in Torrance, and it was really neat to see some of these old pictures. And they started with the Volkswagen Bug, so that's really what launched TMI.
Okay.
So they went after bugs, and you probably won't believe this, but actually Volkswagen cells are one of our top performing cells still to this
Well, that's
day.
a huge market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fast forward after Volkswagen, then the brothers focused on Mustangs, and then after Mustangs, just things really started taking off and going after the hot rod market, and then the most recent over the past few years is actually really going after truck.
Okay. All right. Have you seen trends change over the years, and what's the hot thing right now?
Sure. So one of the trends, and it was great for the time, was to see the use of grommets, and that was a big. It was a great deal for TMI, but it was a fad, and now watching guys transition to trying to find something that's in between maybe leather and vinyl, and we have a premium vinyl now that's distressed, and it looks just like leather, and it feels just like leather, but at a fraction of the cost.
Oh, the cost,
and so we're really fortunate that we found this vinyl, because now we're able to pass the savings on to the customer as opposed to wrapping their seats in full leather. That would just cost a nice fortune.
Yeah. So it's really not about how much the guy spends on it. It's more about the creativity and use of color and his execution that really makes it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So anything else exciting going on there that we need to know about?
We were on either sides of the aftermarket aisle when I was at Flowmaster, VP of marketing for Flowmaster, and then I took over B&M and Hearst, and Ross was at Magnaflow. That's right. So we did our sounding of the boards basically, but those were the two biggest hitters at that time. Magnaflow was huge.
Right.
Still is.
Still is. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Amazingly big company.
Yes.
They don't sound as good. But
Magnaflow was really kind to us a couple of years ago, and actually Dan Pallone let us borrow his 67 Bronco, and we gutted the whole interior. He had a really nice interior, but we're going to put something even better in there. So
there you go.
Super nice. Like, hey, Dan, guess what? We're going to rip all that out. He's like, okay, I trust you guys. So rip it all out and put some really cool distress blue steel vinyl in there with some blue plaid inserts. And that blue plaid really complemented the blue paint that he has. And he's just got a really cool old 5.0 junkyard motor in there. It's just a great driver now. He was saying that he gets more compliments in it now than he ever did before when it had brown leather seats in there.
Yeah. So is there any individual little things that guys do that help you pick out a winner? And so like at your shop before you go to SEMA, is there a limit on how many people can enter?
No limit.
So you could have 100 cars there to have to judge? Wow.
Yes. So last year we had about 30, and I thought that was a really good number to start off with for our inaugural event. And then, the way things are pacing right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 100.
Yeah, sure. Well, because you're all shooting for a trip to Vegas, right?
Sure. Well, what was also neat is just other people stepping up to partner with us. And for example, we get a phone call from Barrett Jackson, and they partnered with us, and with that, all 9 of our winners from the SEMA show automatically got gifted a spot to be in the Barrett Jackson Cup.
Oh, okay.
So a couple of them took Barrett Jackson up on that offer, went out there, and just to see some of those cars that we picked going across the chopping block. You know? So it was on all those guys' bucket list. So like, see that, like, oh, this is awesome.
And there's no differentiation between whether it's a truck or a car or Volkswagen or anything. It can be any body style.
That's it.
Okay. How about a boat? Could a guy enter a boat?
Well, we don't have that category just
yet.
It's hard to get it in the PRI show. There you go.
There you go.
What is the breadth of your product line at this point?
Right now, our main focus is we have everything from 1948 to 1998, and we're slowly growing into the 2000s with some Mustang stuff, and eventually, we'll be getting into some a lot more 80s cars and 90s cars. Just so hot right now.
Okay.
But with our product line, watching, for example, we used to have a race style seat called the Chicane, and we came out with the new version of it, the Chicane 2, and that one is a lot more comfortable because the way the seat foam is and the way the structure of the bolsters, it actually is able to fit a bigger person.
Okay.
So it's a lot more comfortable than the traditional racing style seat. And so now guys are able to get that racing style seat and a complete interior to match. Who else does that?
Well, most of the guys in the automotive industry are quite svelte. They're very, very, very thin. They're thin guys, and they need those bolsters to keep them in there. So it's I don't know about that. That seems to be going the opposite direction to the guys that I see, especially the Mopar guys. I got a bag on the Mopar guys, of which I have been one in the past. But anyway,
that's very cool.
But can you modify the bolsters? Can you do things yourself? I mean, is that something you guys?
I guess you could if you bought them and
bought the foam.
Yeah, bought the foam and did all that yourself. But usually guys, if they're torn, they're coming out to different shows or events to be able to test fit, sit down in those different seats. Yeah. Especially when you're looking at, again, that Pro Classic that has a really small bolster, and then you got the low back, and that low back with those high bolsters, you're like, oh man, forget that, because depending on your driving style and taste, you might not like the way that feels. But other guys, like my friends over at Phytech, they used to have a bench in their autocross mule, and they were just sliding around the autocross. And then so we took those out and put some of our new cruiser low back seats in there. Yeah. That worked out well, and they shaved off almost a half a second of their time on the autocross because now they're not fighting.
Exactly.
And
you're half hanging on.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're doing that, you're not concentrating on your driving because you're concentrating on trying to stay in the seat. So I've driven several cars like that in an autocross, and it is sometimes you're not as fast because you're just hanging on, and that's not good. Yeah, that's the last thing you want to be thinking about. Yeah, yeah.
Is there any ease of install with regards to the TMI seats? I mean, hog rings and stuff like that to put them on, or what do you?
So thankfully, they're all complete. You can't buy some things to reupholster. So, like for Mustang seats or Volkswagen, you can buy some upholstery. But most everything else is complete.
Complete, ready to go.
So with that,
turnkey.
It's turnkey solution, and you're going to be able to do the complete install over a weekend. Just
nice.
Everybody.
Very nice.
Right. Yeah.
That's nice.
So is there a favorite material right now that everybody seems to be liking?
Those distressed
vinyl,
really hot. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how many people have been gravitating to that, especially the brown distressed vinyl. And then the other neat thing that really started picking up steam, and we launched this 2 years ago, was our double diamond stitch. So the double diamond stitch pattern is really unique. It actually isn't in any traditional diamond shape and form that we all grew up around. None of these stitches ever cross each other.
Really?
So the stitches, they're all done on CNC machines, so you're not going to be able to go to your local mom and pop shop and try to
get that done. Okay.
Yeah, you got to use a CNC machine to be able to get this embroidery just right. And what's really cool is see how the stitching gets really close to each other, but never touches. It still gives you that diamond effect. Okay. And it's a very high-end look for a fraction of the cost of going to a high-end shop.
Okay. Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah.
As simple as that. Whatever happened to your El Camino?
So the El Camino.
Oh no, we go back to the roots.
Right? Well, before we jump down that path, because it needs a lot of love. Right now, TMI is celebrating our 40th anniversary.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
So, so 40 years, TMI has been in business, and so making things handcrafted. How do you get that handcrafted look? You got to do it by hand. And it's we have a lot of great employees that are still showing that level of detail and craftsmanship that you would expect out of like a real, only out of a boutique shop, and yet you're able to get that out of our manufacturing facility.
Okay.
And from there, we're really excited of what the future has for us, especially the stuff that we're going to show off at SEMA this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So El Camino, what are your plans? What are your plans? Yeah.
You still have it?
I still have it.
Nice.
So it's my very first car.
Okay.
So I'm real fortunate that my wife's talked me out of it a couple times not to sell it.
Yeah, I never sell your first car.
Right?
Never
Exactly. So especially after
I know, I did.
we drove away,
you got one.
in my El Camino after we got married. So it's something that it just has to stay in the family now, right?
Sure.
And, but right now it's down. I got to pull the motor. I need to go through it. I blew another set of heads on it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right. I'm excited though that after all these years, I've had it since '92.
Okay.
And I've been able to hold on to it for this long, and I'm thankful that so many different friends have been able to help me out.
And that's the key to it. That's your friends help you out and they'll get you down the road. So yeah, cool.
Well,
so what's the plan for it? Down the road. Down the road.
So after I get it running again, of course I got to now rip out all of the interior that I had in there. I got to put new TMI interior.
Of course.
So can't wait to do that. And I'm just looking forward to just cruising it with my family like I used to.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
Very
you
cool.
still have your El Camino?
I still have my 65.
Nice.
And it was a classic deal. I found the car through Bob Melhoff. So he comes over to my house one day. He and his wife would come over for Friday night pizza, right?
Nice.
And so he shows up at my house one day, I open the door and say, come on in. He says, before we go any further, I have to tell you something. But if I tell you about the car that I found, if I tell you about it, you're going to want to buy it. So tell me now if you don't want me to tell you. And I thought, that's the perfect sales pitch.
Exactly.
It's the absolutely perfect sales pitch. I said, well, no, I have to know now.
Yes.
And he goes, 65 4-speed air conditioning El Camino with a 327. Let's go. And the girls are like, no, you're staying here and having pizza. So it's 7 a.m. the next morning. We drove up to Palmdale and bought it. And I still have it. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's now running again for the first time ever because we had all kinds of problems with it. I won't go into all the technical details, but it was a bad cylinder block it had lifter bores that were all wonky. I think it was actually the camshafts in wrong. And it's just literally cast incorrectly in the block. Oh, wow. So there was no fixing it. So I ended up having to build a new motor.
Must have been a Monday build.
For the first, it was probably a Monday or a Friday build. And for the first time now in probably, since 2004, that it actually runs right. Wow. So it's like I'm thrilled. I'm driving the wheels off it because it's so much fun to drive because I was fighting this thing for so long trying to figure out what was wrong with it.
Right.
And it was just, something I couldn't really fix.
Well, what happened to the Chevelle?
Which one?
The one that you finally put it all together. Remember
the high school car.
The high school car.
Yeah, it's not done yet. No. Yeah, it didn't.
Did you have it?
Not finished. We're really close. Santini got it painted.
Right.
And I got the motor and trans. It's all the drivetrain's all in.
Strope gave it to you back?
And he painted my motor for me. Yeah.
Very nice.
Did a fantastic job.
Took 18 years.
Yeah. It's been
Steve?
it was a part. The car was a part for almost 20.
I know.
We did a classic story at Chevy High where we ripped it all apart in one morning. We thought it was going to 8 guys. It'll take us all day to take this thing apart. We were done by noon.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so it's taken me all these years to try and put it back together. Yeah. So it's all the detail work now, like getting the interior back in it.
Well, it was looking really good. I mean, when you took it to Iowa, it looked really good. Like it was, the pieces were all kind of coming together. There was several other projects got in the way. Yeah. So it's classic deal. Project comes up and it's like, well, I'll work on this. We'll put that on the side. Wasn't there a reunion that you were trying to
I was supposed to go my 50th high school reunion because that's the car I graduated in high school. Oh, and I had another friend of mine, Ben Gunther, who had his 66 390 GTA Fairlane. He still has that car that we were
was
friends.
His car there?
No, he didn't bring his car either. So I didn't feel so bad about not making it, you know. So now, you know, I showed up and everybody's like, so where's the car? And it's like, yeah, it's not finished. You know, you come to my house, you can see it. It's right here. It's, you know.
Where's it at?
So
What's left to it?
Just the interior and all the exterior trim.
The interior.
We
have a man who can help you here.
It's all done. It's all done. It was because it was a Marina Blue '66 with a white interior.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to put the white interior back in it because I fought to try and keep it clean when I was in high school. And my friends all say, no, you have to do this. I was going to put a black interior in it, and they talked me into doing white, and I'm glad they did because it just came out spectacular.
Wasn't that Strope? Wasn't Strope one of the main components of
he
the
said,
white interior?
I will kill you if you don't put the white interior in it. So
pretty much.
And it does. It looks really spectacular. Yeah. It's all stock. You know, I just return it to stock, and then so it's just all the little detail stuff that, quite frankly, drive me crazy. So I have to get motivated. I have to have friends that come over and say, "Let's put this together," you know, and then they force me to do it. So I just have to finish it. But
No.
And
you got your garage is going together,
and the new shop's coming together.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's really kind of surprising because it's exciting because when I moved there was no. I had a 50 by 30 shop. But it was heated floor, and I couldn't put my hoist in because if you drill holes through the concrete, you're going to hit water, so which is not good. So we added another addition to it, and now it's they're literally working on it right now. We're about ready for the walls are all up. They build them in Iowa a little bit differently. They pull the walls up and the ceiling up and all the tin, and then they pour the concrete.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to lay the heat out for the floor, and then they're going to pour the concrete and
maybe you can finish his
and it's already
El Camino,
right?
Bring your El Camino out. We'll fix the motor right up for you. So and it'll just be nice to have my hoist for the first time in 2 years. I've been without my hoist, so I'm laying on the ground. I'm 69 years old, and it's just not any fun anymore. It's like when I was
9 years old.
I know,
oh my
it's
God.
ancient.
You know what comes next, man.
I know. I'm not looking forward to
finishing a Chevelle.
So but I do have to finish it. But it's just it's the classic thing. Once it's been 20 years, what's another year, right?
You run a wire through it and make it into a lamp.
So, and then there's all the other stuff that I'm doing. The Blue 65. I just bought a LS7 motor for it.
Do the people in Iowa wonder where the hell you've been? I mean, you were gone for 40 years.
Yeah,
40 years. He was gone for 40 years, and now he's back. But I mean, they got to come over to your house. Did you say something like the UPS guy was amazed one day? He came over there and saw all this old stuff?
Well, I had the doors open to the shop, and so he dropped off parts, and his dad was a Chevelle guy. So he looks inside the shop and goes, well, that's a 66 Chevelle, that's a 65 Chevelle. And what's under the car cover? I said, another 66, 396 big block 4-speed car. And he was like, eyes are getting real big. So we started talking for a few minutes, and then he sees all the parts and all the engines and goes, who are you? So I told him who I was, and you can kind of look at him. You tell people that sometimes, like the editor of Hot Rod Magazine, and I'm in a little tiny town of 90 people in southwest Iowa, and it's like, no, yes, not even close. So then about a week later, I'm down in my office, which is in the basement of my house, and my stepdaughter or my daughter-in-law is at the house at the time, and he goes to deliver parts. He rings the doorbell, and so she just runs up and grabs the door open, and he's talking to her for a minute, and he goes, he's the real deal. And she goes, yeah, he is. It was kind of funny. So she told me that later.
There you go.
So he just brought his car by the other day, and I tuned up his carburetor for him a little bit.
Of course
so he's
did.
thrilled. He's having a good time. So
absolutely,
we're having a good time. So. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, anything new that's coming down? Well, I guess
you guys work with race-winning brands together, though, too, right? I mean, you had some of that time because I know Brian Reese. I worked with Brian when he was over at Comp for a long time, and then he went to race-winning brands. I can't remember what he's doing now. Do you know what he's doing now?
So I believe he's with the Retrofit Source.
Okay.
And then the Retrofit Source now part of the Wheel Pros umbrella. And so I know he helped the retrofit source be acquired with them. Brian was great. Really took care of me, especially after when COVID hit and 300 of us at Race Winning Brands all got let go.
Wow, that was on the same day.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so it was pretty awesome. So the following day, Brian calls me. He's like, "Hey, so I heard what?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got let go." And he's like, "Oh, that's great. Well, okay, so can you explain? Because I'm not following you.
I don't think it's a great thing.
The good part
I got a bunch of work for you." So it was pretty nice. That Brian called me, the following day.
Yeah,
got me work, and I'm so thankful for that.
And that brings up an interesting point, because it in this industry it is a rather small industry, and a lot of people know a lot of people, and that's kind of nice, when someone will do that for you. Yep. And because there are a lot of industries where that would never happen, it's very dog eat dog. Yeah. So
did he tell you the story about when we were staying at Ron Coleman's house that was on the Mississippi, and it was myself, and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. It's like anyway. But anyway, there were three of us, and we were hungry, so it was like we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. And Memphis it's spotty. Shall we live in spotty? Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear Steve in the background going, "Car show, Cam." Anyway, so we walk down, and we actually go by the museum that is the motel where King was killed.
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. So Martin Luther King. So we're walking down here, and it's like we can't find anything open, and it's literally a ghost town. There's parts of Memphis where literally you walk around, and there's nobody there, and it's like 7:00 at night.
Yeah.
Like, where is everybody? I don't know. They're all hiding. I don't know. They're hiding under a car. But anyway, so we end up going to this place called Ernestine and Mabel's, and we go into this place, and it was a brothel, I guess. Probably the previous Tuesday, but we go anyway. So we go into this place, Ernestine and Mabel's, and we go into this place, and it's like, okay. And there's two women who are dancing by the jukebox, and it's old. I mean, it's like a bar. It's like a Western bar, right? So we walk into this place, and it's 8:00 at night. It's very dark outside. So these two women are dancing by the jukebox, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And then I see this one guy behind the bar, big mirror bar, the whole bit, and there's a grill. He's got a grill. And there are only 2 tables and 4 of these really old chairs. So I walk in, sit down, and the guy goes, "What do you have?" It's like, you got a menu? He goes, I always love this line. So this is the kind of line I use when I go to the restaurant. I say, "We got soul burgers and beer. What will you have?"
All right.
Like, how about a soul burger
and a beer?
And that's my Brian Reese story. So every time I say it was like, soul burgers and beer, and that was it. And we got back. Awesome. We survived, but it was like quite the deal. A car show.
Yeah.
Car show. Sorry about that. I digress.
Well, look, it's great having you here. This has been a lot of fun. So we'll have to get the word out for everybody to do your event. Yes. And take their interiors out and see how they can win this whole thing and be a star, right?
That's it. So you check out everything at TMIProducts.com, whether it's our seats, our complete interior in a box, or check out the trim awards right there at TMI Products.
Okay, outstanding.
Can you do these stools? These stools are really uncomfortable. There's no bolster.
A bolster and a back would be that'd be great,
right
because I'm getting old.
Really nice to see you again, Russ.
Yeah, this has been great. Yeah, it's been a lot of time. We'll have to have you back here sometime.
Sounds good.
So, all right. Well, if you like what we're doing here, we want to thank our friends at arp-bolts.com. We couldn't do this stuff without them. And also also want to thank the Petersen Museum for having us come here, because this is a lot of fun. This is a really outstanding place. If you haven't been here, you should come by, because it's really spectacular.
It's been voted the best car museum in the world.
In the world. Okay. Yeah. A couple of times. So there you go. I mean, doesn't need more of an invitation than that. So if you like, So if you like what we're doing here, push the button, ring the bell, do all that good stuff, and we'll just keep telling you stories.